My friends, we are go. We are live. Thank you ever so much for joining me for this free training. I'm excited. I'm pumped to share what I'm going to share with you today. I don't know why I can see myself. I don't know why I look so white. I can assure you I'm not this pale and pasty and anemic looking in person. That must be this lighting or the British weather. Either way, doing me no good. But welcome. I'm going to break down today my 3-step process that I'll be using to help 100 plus vegans and plant-based dieters get and stay slim in 2023, so this year. And that's it. That's my big mission. Of course, I'll be doing the YouTube, I'll be doing the Instagram, I've got other personal goals, but my main mission this year is to help at least 100 men and women through Vegan Slim and Sustain to lose their first 10, 15, 25, 30 pounds or more, and this part is important, learn how to actually keep it off this time, and to also build some healthy and sustainable habits for life, so they don't just come on the program with me for 12 or 24 weeks and then balloon back up the scale immediately when we finish. That's the worst feeling in the world as a coach, and of course for the client it's no good as well. But to actually leave the program with a sense of this is permanent now, I've actually changed, I've experienced a great change in my habits and in my behavior, so I actually feel I have a good shot. Nothing's guaranteed, but I feel I have a good shot at actually doing this now for the rest of my life. So that's the big, bold mission, another 100 people through the program to great success. The goal of this training, though, is to give you the inside scoop on exactly how I'm going to help my clients through that process, how I'm going to help them transform. I want to show you today, at least, the 3 things that you're probably missing from your weight loss strategy right now, so you can plug the leaks in your current weight loss plan and lose, like I say, 10, 15, 25 pounds or more, just like my clients, in the next 12 weeks. So that's the big goal for this training today. I want to show you behind the curtain. Let's say you're going to understand a lot more about my thinking, my philosophies, usually on YouTube, usually on Instagram. I'm just presenting my tips. I'm hopefully giving you actionable and motivating advice. But today, as I say, we're going to peel back the curtain, and I want to show you some of my mindset, my attitude towards exactly why I give the advice I do, how I actually design my program for my clients, and from that I'm sure you're going to take lessons and insights that you can inject into your own weight loss strategy, regardless of whether you work with me or not. So Vegan Slim and Sustain, my program, has 4 main ingredients, quote unquote, through which we help my clients transform. So these are the 4 pillars that my clients work through. Number 1 is the done for you plant-based meal plan. Clues on the name, I suppose. This is a vegan meal plan full of simple, satisfying, and carb-rich meals that leave us feeling really, really amazing. We don't feel deprived, and we don't have to count calories. My clients don't have to count calories either, because all the math has been done for them and implemented into the meal plan, so they can follow it stress-free, without all the thinking, without all the tracking of calories and macros and getting neurotic like that. So that's pillar number 1, the done-for-you plant-based meal plan. The Slow Go Cardio program, again, clues in the name. What do we mean by slow go cardio? Gentle stuff, right? So many people that are very new to weight loss, very new to fitness, they set the bar way too high, and they commit to, I appreciate the ambition, but they commit to 3 spinning classes a week, all the boot camp classes, all the HIIT workouts. You don't need to do any of that stuff at first. Break it down, start gentle, start low intensity, build your fitness up in time, and reserve some of the more high intensity stuff for when you plateau, but a bit more on that later on. So the Slow Go Cardio program, key staple of Vegan Slim and Sustain. Next, of course, number 3, this one I talk about a lot, is the mental and emotional rewiring. As I say, it's no good me just giving my clients a meal plan, giving them the exercise program like the first 2 points, and then saying, right, see you later then. Let's hope this works. Absolutely not. We need a change in habits and behavior and thinking and beliefs and stories too, and attitudes as well. My clients need to go through that internal transformation, as opposed to just changing, what they're eating, moving their body a little bit differently for, as I say, 12 or 24 weeks. I actually want my clients to change here so that results actually can be permanent this time. And finally, of course, number 4, and this is an important cornerstone, is the no BS accountability. You know my style. I'm not the, hi guys, I'm not the, when you make a mistake, I'm not the, oh, forgive yourself and move on, it'll all be okay. That's not my style. I mean, forgiveness is important. You need to give yourself some grace when you make mistakes, but that's not really my style. I think you guys know me a little bit better by now. I am a little bit stubborn. I am a little bit, certainly for my age, I suppose, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. I'm a little bit of a straight shooter, I would say. I don't think I'm a rude person, but I appreciate sometimes I can come across as quite ruthless and clinical with my words. And so that's why people come to me. I get people tell me every day, Ryan, one of the reasons why I signed up with you is because of how you talk and how you'll actually hold me to account. So we've got our no BS accountability. Now, these are our 4 main ingredients. And as much emphasis as I place on them, as much as these deliverables are one of the drivers of success for my clients, they are not nearly as important as the philosophies and the principles behind them. It's the way in which I design them and the thinking that's gone into them, which actually can provide more value to you as you're watching this at home. And that's where we come now to our 3-step process to guarantee transformation. It's our 3 S's. And you may or may not have heard me talk about these before. I haven't given them much coverage. But the 3 S's, and these 3 things are likely what you are missing right now. If you are not losing weight right now, or you are losing weight at an incredibly slow pace because of inconsistency, or because you don't know what you're doing because of lack of clarity, it's likely this is where you're going wrong. Or if you're going up the scales, this is where you're going wrong right now. These 3 S's. As I say here on the first bullet, these are 3 sort of overarching tenets that have been injected into the 4 vegan, slim, and sustained ingredients I mentioned on the previous slide. Think of these really as the cornerstones of my weight loss philosophy, the philosophy that I've honed in for years and years now, that will ultimately be the reason why, again, I'm confident I'll hit that goal of helping 100 men and women finally break through with weight loss and with health this year. It's these 3 S's. Yes, the meal plan is cool. Yes, the slow go cardio program. These are the things in terms of actions that deliver results. But like I say, they have to be the right actions, and I think it's the philosophies behind the way I design my program that will be more useful for you guys to hear right now. So what's the first one then? The big reveal. Number 1. You might have guessed this, simplicity. Why? Why is this included here in our 3 tenets? Well, losing weight is actually easier than you think, contrary to what you might believe right now. You're just likely very overwhelmed by all the information out there. The internet doesn't help with this, I suppose. And I think a lot of people as well, they're tainted by their failures of the past. And as I say in the brackets here, it might actually be reassuring for you right now to believe that weight loss is hard, because it sort of rationalizes all the struggles you had in the past, and it doesn't make you feel as bad about taking responsibility for the struggles you've had in the past. If you can believe weight loss is hard, it can almost be an excuse not to even try. Do you see what I mean? And that's how deep the self-sabotage can go with this stuff. I'm here today to tell you it's actually more straightforward than you think. It's actually easier than you think. Of course, this doesn't mean it'll be a breeze or a walk in the park. There will still be challenges, of course, but a lot of people being overly complex, overly elaborate with their strategy, and actually thinking it is more of a turmoil, more of an uphill challenge than the process actually is. As I say in the second bullet here, the second reason why simplicity is included in our 3 S's here, being complex and elaborate with nutrition, especially in nutrition, but also the exercise, is only actually practical when you're highly motivated. So you can have a complex and elaborate plan where you have to have all these different meals and you're doing a different type of exercise every single day. You can do that, and that might work for a little while, but I stress there, a little while. You have to have a lot of enthusiasm. You have to be excited. It has to be, the turning over of a new leaf. Maybe January is a good example of this, which is topical as I'm making this video on the final day in January. But usually it's only when you're enthusiastic and highly motivated, and that naturally wears away. Or maybe you're not a very busy person, which is not the vast majority of my clients anyway, who have children, careers, so on and so forth. Bottom line, it's really not sustainable for most to be really complex and really elaborate with your meals, with your exercise programming. So that's why simplicity is included. So of course, how do we, to cut to the chase here, how are you going to start making your strategy more simple, more straightforward, so you can cut through the fluff, get rid of all the overwhelm you're experiencing right now, and get clarity on just the basic action steps that actually yield most of your weight loss results, rather than the nuances, the semantics, semantics, the magic pills, so on and so forth. Well, my first bit of advice on this, you'll see this on the first bullet. Pick 6 meals that you're going to rotate between per week. So my clients in their first week, I instruct them to choose from 2 breakfasts. They get a whole meal plan with various options personalized to them, but they have to pick in the first week 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, 2 snacks, 2 dinners. So 6 meals, or if you're including the snack, 8 meals there. And that is more than enough. And I actually stress it's actually, because it might sound very limiting to you right now, but it's actually more than enough. Most clients, they'll just stick to 1 breakfast. They might have a couple of different dinners, usually 1 breakfast, 1 lunch. So you can actually narrow this down to maybe 4 or 5 meals, but let's play it safe. Pick 6 meals right now you're going to rotate between per week. And then every week you can switch things up. When things get a little bit boring or stale, you can introduce something new there. But during the next 7 days, you've only got 6 options to pick from. And again, this might initially, to some of you, sound slightly restrictive and limiting, but I cannot tell you how the opposite feeling actually happens when you know you only have to think about 6 meals. It's actually the opposite of limiting and restricting. My clients will attest to this. It's actually very freeing to know that you don't have to think about all these different meals with loads of ingredients. Assemble a big old grocery list, keep that fridge up to date, maybe risk throwing out food because you're not necessarily adhering to all of the meals you plan for. So just pick 6. This can be a great way to simplify and streamline your plan right now. Next bullet, I'm aggressive on this one. Throw out those damn vegan cookbooks, right? 9 out of 10 recipes in those vegan cookbooks are overly elaborate. They are sort of copy and pasted sort of animal product replica recipes. So they get really complex because they try and do all these alternatives and substitutions. This stuff is not practical in the real world. Okay, occasionally you might find a good recipe book, or like Tia's work from Healthy Vegan Mama. She's got some amazing recipe books, but those are the exception to the rule. If you walk in your local bookstore right now and pick up a vegan cookbook, it's likely to be so over the top in terms of the length of cooking time, in terms of the diversity and list of ingredients included. Simply not practical day to day for the vast majority of folks. Instead of recipes, let me take a sip of my water. I'm talking a lot more than I expected to here. I knew I'd talk a lot because it's a monologue. It's a 1-person presentation, but I didn't realize we'd already be over the 10-minute mark. So, yeah, instead of recipes, plate formula. So this is a really good template. 30% whole grain or potato. Certainly for lunches and dinners, this applies. 30% legumes, which includes our tofu and tempeh, but beans, peas, lentils, and so on. 30% vegetables or fruits, and then 10%, the final slither, 10% of that plate coming from maybe a fat-rich food source, an overt plant fat, such as your avocados, such as your hummus containing tahini, for example, such as your nut seeds, your chia, hemp seed, walnuts, for example. What am I missing there? Flaxseed on your oatmeal, for example. So forget the recipes, just stick to that plate formula, and it just really cuts through, I think, a lot of the unnecessary and overly long, overly elaborate recipes there. And also what I like about having sort of a visual idea of a plate is it gives you versatility. Because like I've said here, 30% whole grain or potato. There's lots of different whole grains. You could do brown rice, you could do quinoa, you could do whole wheat couscous, you could do barley, millet, and so on. Buckwheat, for example. Potato, you've got white potato, sweet potato. You could do a whole wheat pasta or a bean pasta, for example. Legumes, there's lots of different options. Vegetables, fruits, there's lots of different options. So you can switch things up. So even though this is quite a simplistic template, there's quite a lot you can do under sort of a plate umbrella. Does that make sense? So that's a great way to just, again, cut through all of the noise with these crazy recipes. Okay, all I need to do is 30% this, 30% this. I can just throw it all together. Bit of batch cooking, so I've got rice for several days, or I've got potatoes rather made up for several days, veggies made up for several days, and then just throw it together for every main meal. In terms of exercise then, because I've been talking just about how to make food more simplistic so far, this narrative, I hear this a lot, this myth, you have to keep the body guessing. This is a bit of a gym bro concept, I would say. Absolutely untrue, okay? There are time-tested exercises, battle-proven exercises, we've known about these for years and years, that bring you success. And when you implement progressive overload with those exercises, it might sound like I'm just talking about strength training, I'm talking about cardio as well. They bring you success. So just repeat those and get better at them. Don't worry about having to, one day you have to do exactly this movement in the gym, and then the next you have to do something else to work a different part of the chest muscle. There is some truth to this, obviously, but generally speaking, there are staple exercises that work across the board. We're thinking, if we are talking about strength training, we're thinking about squats and lunges for the lower body, for example. You don't have to complicate it by doing one day sissy squats, the next day hack squats, the next day, walking lunges, the next day, reverse lunges, Bulgarian split squats, calf raises. You don't necessarily have to do all of that stuff to keep the body guessing. You just need to really do the time-tested stuff that works over and over again, get more proficient in those movements, and you will make gains. In terms of our cardio stuff, there is no reason why one day you need to do swimming, one day you need to go out on the elliptical, one day you need to do walking. You can just stick to what actually works, what actually brings you results, what's proven to bring results for a lot of people. There are formulas out there for your success, and as much as you sort of succumb to the idea that everyone's different and do what's right for you, it's not really true, right? We're one species, and what seems to work for many of us seems to work for a lot of us, or the other way around, but you get what I'm saying. So just repeat those exercises. No need to, again, to be really elaborate with your workout program. If you're new to exercise, as I say on the final bullet here, just start with walking. So stop overcomplicating it. Don't worry too much about, someone told me that cardio is best, or strength training is best for fat loss. Walking is enough for now. Okay, if you're not ready to get in the gym or it seems overwhelming to you, let's build you up to it. Okay, my clients do walking for the first month alone, or the majority, I should say, of the first month alone. That's all they have to do, walking, to get started. Yes, don't get me wrong, eventually we progress them in time, but it's a great relief for some people to just come into Vegan, Slim and Sustain and know that they don't have to try and, conquer their fitness just yet. And it's something we progressively build up to in baby steps, not to sound patronizing, but in small, incremental and gradual changes in progression. So just starting out with walking, that's a great way. It's a great way to get started and not make your strategy so overwhelming that you're unlikely to even get going. And that's our first S, simplicity. Our second one, could you guess it? I don't think many people would guess this one, is structure. So why? Why is structure so important? Well, everyone wants to lose weight. I talk to people all the time, online and offline, about this, and everyone wants to lose weight. I could lose a little bit. Maybe it's 80 pounds for some people. Maybe it's, I just got a little bit more fat left. I could do with losing some. Or I've gained some weight over Christmas, over the holidays. That's pretty topical right now, given the time of year. Everybody wants to lose weight, more or less, I'm broadly speaking. But nobody has a clear plan of action. Success in any area of life, you don't need to hear this from a young whippersnapper like me, you've experienced this yourself. This isn't profound. Success is rarely accidental. So why would it be different with weight loss? Unless you are a smoker, for example, unless you are sick, for example, on medication, it's very likely that weight loss is accidental. It is usually something that requires intentionality, focus, and a particular sort of strategy, whether accidental or very planned out strategy. It needs some kind of intentionality usually behind it. It's rarely accidental. So it is not enough to just wake up in the morning and wing it, as I say on the second bullet here. To wake up and think, what am I going to eat today to lose weight and be healthy? Oh, that's a good start, obviously, but you need really some kind of blueprint, some kind of framework to actually follow that guides you into certain actions. Like I say on the final bullet here, structure gives you boundaries as well, and that's really important. It's important to have a framework to guide your behavior, to give you some rules to actually abide by. Without that, what are your standards? What are your boundaries? How do you actually know when you've crossed a line, okay? This goes beyond just winging it and waking up in the morning and thinking, I should really try and lose some weight today. No, structure is the next level then. It gives you some kind of guidance system to orchestrate, let's say, to use big words, your behavior by. So that's why structure's here, and that's why I think it's one of the neglected missing ingredients to weight loss success. So how do you then inject structure into your game plan right now? First thing you need to do is write out a meal plan. This week, I'll eat X for breakfast. These are my 2 breakfast options, as I mentioned earlier. Here's what I'm going to eat for lunch, so on and so forth. Get that down on paper, get it in the notes app on your phone. In time, you don't need to be necessarily, taking notes and journaling and doing all of that and writing out a dedicated meal plan. You'll get the swing of it, and you'll be able to do it in your head in time. But if you're new to this, write it down, get it done, get something visual there. Then, step number 2, take that meal plan and list out all the ingredients that you don't currently have in your kitchen right now, and that's your grocery list for this week. So this is how straightforward it is. And then when my clients get their done-for-you meal plan back from me after they've filled out their questionnaire, so I know a bit more about allergies, food preferences, so on and so forth, I'll write out their meal plan, send it back to them over PDF, and in the back of the meal plan PDF, there's actually a couple of worksheets there, and all they have to do is decide which 2 options they're going to have for the first week. So 2 breakfasts out of the 5 options, 2 lunches, 2 snacks, 2 dinners, and then from that, there's also another worksheet where they can literally just write in a grocery list that's done for them, which ingredients those meals contain, and that therefore is just their grocery list. So they can go out, if they've printed it off like the teacher's pet types do. I love those clients. They print it off. Don't mean to sound demeaning. I really love those clients, genuinely. They can just take that grocery list to the store, and that's it. They're done. They're ready to go. So meal plan, grocery list, done. Get out the door, get your shopping, and we're on. With exercise, as I say on the 3rd bullet here, come up with a weekly plan for it. So again, rather than saying, I'll try to get some exercise in this week, I'll try to exercise this week, there's a couple of words I try and ban with my clients. When my clients say these couple of words, I'm like, no, get rid of those words. There's 2 that spring to mind. Try. We don't like try. We will. We commit to. We don't use the word try. And the second one is hopefully. Hopefully I'll get back on track this week, Ryan. Absolutely not. So there's no hopefully. You will. You're committed to. Let's do this. What's our plan? What's our plan to get you back on on track this week? Not hopefully. Again, success is rarely accidental. You need a plan. So don't just say, I'll try and get some exercise in this week. I'll try and move my body this week. Actually come up with some targets for yourself. I'll aim for 5,000 steps a day, right? Or I'll do 3 times 30 or 45-minute bike rides. Maybe in time you do the more intense stuff. Okay, there is this spinning class at the gym. Okay, when are you actually going to go? Not saying to yourself, oh, I should really do some spinning this week. No, hold yourself to account, right? Come up with some actionable plan here. Okay, I'm going to go on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. I know they've got classes at 7 p.m. those days. I'll start with those. Okay, that is far more of a structure than just saying, oh, I'll give it a shot. On bullet number 4 here, I was going to say finally, but on the 4th bullet here, remember, and this is really important, specificity creates structure. Notice with the previous examples from the previous bullet here, 5,000 steps a day, 3 times 45-minute bike rides, as you can see on the screen. These are not vague. These are very specific actions. Spinning classes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? These are really specific actions. Specificity creates structure. So don't be vague. Write out exactly what your plan is, exactly what you're going to commit to, and then you'll actually have something that holds you to account. You need to find a way to turn your intentions into promises, and structure is a fantastic way to do that. So in terms of structure for my Vegan Slim and Sustain clients, they get their done-for-you plant-based meal plan, they get the Slow Go cardio program, they've got their accountability systems such as the 3 times weekly weigh-ins, the Sunday check-ins where they talk to me and give me an update, the coaching calls that we have, day-to-day support via the Trainerize app where I house all of my client conversations, right? All of these things provide structure, right? They give a framework, they give a blueprint for my clients to follow. Battle proven that I've done hundreds of times now with, I'm proud to say, a very high success rate. It sounds braggadocious, but I feel it is a very high success rate as per industry standards. And yeah, without that structure, what would my clients do? Well, what? Am I going to just tell them, oh, eat more whole plant foods? Oh, do a bit of exercise. That's so vague. No, we have extreme clarity. They get extreme clarity. Here's your instruction. Eat X, Y, Z for breakfast. This amount of food, this ingredient. Here's what you can do for exercise today. Today, you're just going to do 3,000 steps, for example. Okay, you need that specificity. And that's what my clients get. They get a whole bunch of structure, so they actually have a clear path forward to follow. So like I say, we have clear rules. My clients get clear boundaries. And the beauty of this is they don't have to do the thinking themselves anymore, right? When you've got good structure, it takes away the stress. Because it's like, well, I know what I'm eating. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing for exercise. I don't really need to think about this anymore. I don't need to work it out anymore. Here's my plan of action. This is what I'm going to do. It's very easy. It's very stress relieving. Finally, number 3, sustainability. You may well have guessed this one. Why? I mean, I probably don't need to explain this one too much, but very briefly. What's the point? First bullet, what's the point of following a strategy you can't actually stick to, that has no longevity to it? You might lose weight quickly, but will it actually be permanent? Instead, we need to think about what we can actually adhere to, what we can realistically stick to over the long term. And like I say on the second bullet here, if you're anything like my Vegan Slim and Sustain students, and like I was several years ago, you are absolutely done. You are sick and tired of yo-yo weight loss, weight gain, and you need now to find a way that you can eat, a way that you can move your body, that you can actually imagine doing for the rest of your life. So it's pretty obvious, but that's why sustainability is so important and is one of our 3 S's here. And again, with each of these 3 S's, they've been injected into every facet of the program. And here's how we do it with sustainability. So here's how to make your strategy more sustainable. This is what I do with my clients. Number 1 is we have a volume eating based approach, so you don't feel like you're starving yourself to lose weight. I cannot tell you how many clients, to throw some kind of number at it, it's at least 60% of clients will report back to me after the first week and they will say, Ryan, I'm utterly shocked at how much I can eat on your program and still lose weight. A lot of clients saying, I'm actually eating more now in terms of portion sizes than I was before the program started, and I've lost 2.5 pounds this week, for example. That is about 60% of my clients will say that after the first week, I would estimate. And how do we achieve this? Well, I want to stress here, they're not eating more calories. They're usually eating actually fewer calories. But because we're playing a volume eating game, it means that they can eat more generously and still lose weight at the same time because the calories are more in check. So if you don't know much about volume eating, I'm not going to sort of turn this into a volume eating presentation. I've covered this before, but just give this term a Google online, learn a little bit more about volume eating principles, and start understanding, this is kind of the second point, but start understanding a little bit more about caloric density and realize that not all plant foods have the same volume, so size, bulk, let's say, to calorie ratio. And if you can add lots of foods into your diet that actually have a low calorie density, in other words, they provide a lot of bulk, a lot of volume for comparatively few calories, if you can add lots of these things into your plates, your bowls, your meals, well, that's such a cheat code for weight loss because you can eat lots without actually consuming all that many calories. So this is the first cheat code to sustainable weight loss. You need a volume eating based approach, some understanding. There are downsides of volume eating, don't get me wrong. These are some of my qualms with like the nutritarian approach. I think some people, they hardly eat any calories because they're so focused on micronutrients. So yeah, generally speaking, the lowest calorie foods tend to actually have the most vitamin, or let's say the most richness and diversity in vitamins and minerals. So it's brilliant because you can eat all these low caloric density foods, get all this amazing nutrition and nourishment, but at the same time, if you only ate really low caloric density foods, you'd be starving, you wouldn't get that many calories in. So there's some balance required, but generally an understanding of volume-based principles is really going to help you here. Bullet number 2, you're going to start with a much smaller caloric deficit than is usually advised, that sort of 500 calorie rule. A lot of people, whether knowingly or not, they want to lose weight quickly, and so they, again, whether knowingly or not, take 1,000 calories off maintenance calories, and they wonder why they can't stick to whatever it is, the juice fast or the shake diet or slimming world, whatever it is. Well, it's largely, I mean, there could be several reasons, of course, as to why they're not consistent, but in many cases, I take a look at what they're doing and I'm like, well, you're hardly eating anything, right? This was never going to last. And so it's wise, I think, to start out at least with a much smaller caloric deficit and chip into that as you sort of plateau or as progress slows down. Now, when I talk about calories, I think some people get the impression that I'm an advocate for calorie counting. I'm not. My clients don't need to do that. As I say, it's all built into their meal plan. I didn't do calorie counting when I lost weight. I've done calorie counting in the past, but ever since I went vegan, I haven't counted calories because you don't necessarily need to count calories to lose weight, right? You can just watch what the scale is doing, and if it's moving the right way, if it's not too quick, if it's not too slow, so if it's in the 1 to 2 pounds a week as a rule of thumb mark, it's just a rule of thumb, so there are exceptions, but for me anyway, as long as I was in the 1 to 2 pound per week mark, that informed me that I was probably doing the right stuff in terms of calories, and so I didn't really need to track them. If weight loss slowed down, then maybe I'd need to review my calorie intake, but that wasn't necessitous, or it certainly isn't going to be necessitous for the vast majority of you out there to do all that often, right? So there is a bit of hit and hope and trial and error involved initially, but once you actually get the feedback from the scale that you're losing weight, you don't necessarily need to do anything in terms of tracking and measuring calories neurotically, do you? But in order to actually pull this off, you are going to need, as I've already sort of reinforced, you are going to need some sense, some understanding of caloric density. So start looking online now. I've got all sorts of resources, infographics of this on my Instagram page, on YouTube. But start looking now at caloric density charts and pyramids for vegan foods, for whole plant foods. Start understanding the difference in calories between nuts and whole grains and vegetables and where they all rank, or fresh fruit versus dried fruit is always an interesting polarity. Start understanding a little bit more about that, and you're going to be able to lose weight on autopilot autopilot without having to count calories. Number 3, let yourself eat out once a week. This is another cheat code for sustainability, right? Don't be so Puritan that you can never eat out, but on the flip side, don't allow yourself the opportunity to eat out so much that you're going to ruin your results. So I love this idea of letting yourself eat out once a week, so this doesn't feel brutal, it doesn't feel like some crazy sacrifice where you just have to stay at home all day and have no fun. And this is also cool because it links to another of our S's. It links back to structure, right? It's a 1 meal out per week rule. Again, you're giving yourself a framework, right? You're giving yourself rules for your behavior. And so we're feeding into the structure too. But I do generally think that if you allow yourself, it doesn't mean you have to use it, but if you allow yourself this sort of token or allowance, as I discuss with my clients, to eat out once per week, I think it just gives you a fantastic sense of freedom. And yeah, okay, I occasionally can eat out and still get amazing life-changing weight loss and health results. In terms of the exercise then, how do we make that more sustainable? Well, my philosophy generally, my clients will attest to this, is it's about doing as little as possible to yield weight loss, right? Doing as little exercise as you can possibly get away with while still losing weight. So you can actually keep loads in the bank and levels up with exercise in the bank or in reserve for when you plateau or when your weight loss slows down in the future, and then you can up the intensity, then you can do more exercise. So it's not to sort of give people a free pass to not do any exercise. That's the antithesis of my advice on exercise. I think it's amazing beyond just the numbers on the scale. I think exercise is so important for physical and mental health and well-being, far beyond, as I say, how you look. However, at the same time, I think it is wise to start small and build up in time. And again, this goes back to our simplicity again, like we're starting small, right? We're building things up in time. We're not being overly elaborate. We're not setting the bar super high. You're just starting with gentle stuff, doing a little bit of exercise, losing weight, and then you've got more room to maneuver, rather than if you start out doing 5 spinning classes a week, for example. Like, where do you then go when you plateau, right? You haven't got as much in reserve. Does that make sense? So that's my general philosophy with exercise, broadly speaking. And another tip to help make your strategy more sustainable: this will stop you being impatient. It will stop you being in a rush, and then you can when you're in a rush, right, all those really extreme weight loss hacks and strategies, they become really appealing, don't they? When you're in a rush, when you convince yourself that you have to lose weight, or you have to lose 30 pounds before your wedding, 30 pounds before your vacation, when you start getting really attached to specific number outcomes like that, it's very easy to justify, well, I'll just do the juice fasting thing for a bit. I'll just get some weight off quickly. And so the antidote to that is really having a bit of patience and being okay with slightly slower progress. I want to make clear here, my approach is not a slow weight loss approach, right? We churn out good numbers. The average weight loss in the first 12 weeks of my program is 21 pounds. That's a decent rate of returns for a very non-aggressive strategy. So I don't promote slow weight loss necessarily, but what I do advise is that you're okay with slower weight loss than some of the aggressive stuff that's produced really fast results in the past. Does that make sense? My thought on this is, well, you're in this for the long run, and we don't want to risk metabolic inefficiency from really aggressive deficits. We don't want to risk you feeding into that sort of restrict binge cycle that many dieters can fall into. We don't want you to, this extends beyond the number on the scale. We don't want you to, compromise other functions in the body because you're eating such a low-calorie diet, and then all of a sudden your hair starts falling out, your nails get really brittle, you feel fatigued, lethargic, right? That's no good because you're being so aggressive with your calorie deficit. And so being okay with having marginally slower weight loss than something, if you're following a really aggressive strategy, it's going to help you play your cards right over the long term, I would suggest. So that's it, right? Get these 3 things right, or work on these 3 things, our 3 S's, once more: simplicity, structure, and sustainability. You will be off to the races. So action step, if you haven't taken anything from this video yet, this is going to be it. Action step. Ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, how can I make my plan more simple? Number 2, how can I give myself more structure? And number 3, how can I make my plan more sustainable? These questions, if you sit there, let them marinate, think about your answers to those, I guarantee right now you start losing weight this week, right? If you think about these and actually spend some time, well, okay, how am I going to make my plan more simple? Maybe it's my steps, or maybe you come up with other ideas for yourself. I guarantee you start losing weight this week if you ask yourself these questions, answer them, and then implement into your strategy. So get on with it, I would say. This is your year. If I could give you 3 little mantras to take away from this, representing each of our 3 S's, it would be these. Number 1, stop overcomplicating things, especially the food. Number 2, weight loss is rarely accidental. You need a plan of action. And finally, number 3, and this is the sustainability element, good health isn't just for Christmas, it's for life. So think about what you can actually sustain. I really hope this has helped you out, but if you do want more help putting this all together, I can personally coach you through my 3-step process using our 3 S's to lose your first 10, 15, 25 pounds or more in the next 12 weeks. If you're interested in learning more, go back to Instagram where I sent you this message, where I sent you this access link rather to this training, and just write to me a message with the word slim vegan. Just write keyword slim vegan, all capitalized. That'll let me know you're interested. We'll see if you're a good fit for the program. We'll see if you qualify, and I'll give you all the details there. Or alternatively, if you found this training through YouTube, fill out the form over at veganslimandsustain.com. Okay, thanks for all your time. Hope this helps. Speak soon.